You were taught that being liked is the goal. That belief keeps you compliant, predictable, and easy to position beneath people who are less talented but more disciplined. Liking is cheap. In real social hierarchies, the currency is selective respect, clear thresholds, and controlled exposure. People do not reward effort. They reward value that is hard to access and hard to replace. Niceness is easy. Scarcity is not. You are taught to treat attention as oxygen. That is a mistake. Needing attention hands control to whoever can grant or withhold it. A person who needs nothing controls everything. Machiavelli understood this. Appearance matters, but appearance is built on the consistent signal that you are governed by your own standards, not by the crowd's appetite. Stoicism says the same thing in a different way. Control what is within your control. Treat everything else as noise. That is not moral advice. It is strategy. The first shift is simple to describe and uncomfortable to live. Set thresholds for your time and access, then keep them regardless of who is asking. Most people signal value through availability. They say yes to prevent friction. That choice destroys their perceived scarcity. In behavioral terms, you train others on how to treat you. If you answer immediately, you teach people that your time has low cost. Intermittent access engages the same dopamine circuits that make variable rewards powerful. Your responses carry more weight when they are not guaranteed. This is not about being difficult for sport. It is about placing a real price on your energy. Epictetus taught that people cannot disturb you without your consent. The modern context is simple. Every open channel dilutes your leverage. Every self-imposed standard concentrates it. A contrast is stark. The agreeable person tries to win by pleasing everyone and becomes background noise. The person with thresholds wins by training the room to orient around their terms. You do not have to demand deference. You make people adjust because your attention is not a commodity. The brain notices patterns. Scarce signals are processed as high value because they are costly to produce. That is costly signaling theory applied to daily life. Stop flooding the market with yourself. Do not confuse thresholds with hostility. Calm control is a stronger signal than reactive rejection. You are not punishing anyone. You are maintaining standards that protect your focus. In groups, individuals with clear boundaries are read as higher status because they appear less dependent on approval. Social mammals track dependence. Lower dependence tracks higher rank. This is not personal. It is how hierarchy forms in any cooperative system. If you will not defend your time, others will spend it for you. The next shift is about language. Replace stories with claims and constraints. Weak players explain, justify, and narrate every move. Strong players state what is true, what is possible, and what they will commit to. The difference is not style. It is frame control. Long explanations invite challenges. Clear claims define the terms. In rhetoric, brevity paired with precision reads as confidence. Cicero used cadence and control to make the audience move on his timeline. Modern psychology calls it processing fluency. Messages that are easier to process are judged as more credible. When your language is clean, your status rises because people feel less cognitive friction around you. There is another layer. People who explain less imply that their decisions stand on a foundation that does not need permission. That implication creates a social asymmetry. Others begin to ask you for conclusions. You become the reference point. This is how influence consolidates. You are not telling people what to think. You are removing ambiguity and letting their brains relax in your structure. You do not need fancy phrasing. Use concrete nouns. Use measured verbs. Describe reality. Define constraints. Name your commitments. Then stop talking. Silence is not absence. Silence is a signal that your words have weight. This contrasts with the habit of oversharing to appear transparent. Oversharing feels honest to the speaker and anxious to the listener. Anxiety reduces trust. When you speak in tight units of meaning, you build a reputation for reliability. The brain rewards reliable sources with more attention. It is operant conditioning applied to social cognition. People will seek your input because every time they get it, decisions get easier. That effect shifts hierarchies in your direction. Another shift is agenda control. Whoever defines the criteria for success owns the interaction. Most people wait to be judged. They accept whatever metric is handed to them. That is submission disguised as cooperation. If you set the terms early, you move from subject to selector. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must shape appearances. In modern settings, you shape them by naming what will matter before anyone else does. Anchoring and the primacy effect do the rest. The first frame introduced often becomes the benchmark for all later evaluation. This is not manipulation. It is order. Contrast two identities. The evaluated waits to be measured and then argues after the fact. The evaluator states, here is the goal, here are the constraints, here is the time frame, here is what counts as a win. The evaluated becomes anxious and reactive. The evaluator becomes calm and directive. The human nervous system is sensitive to certainty. Certainty quiets the amygdala. People gravitate to the person who diminishes uncertainty. If you want to shift status, stop playing defense on undefined fields. Define the field. Do not confuse agenda control with rigidity. You set the criteria, and you update them when reality gives new data. That flexibility reads as competence. You are not attached to being right. You are attached to getting it right. Stoicism again. Align with what is, not with what flatters you. People trust leaders who change their minds for real reasons stated in plain language. They distrust leaders who defend old positions to protect ego. Every update done cleanly is a control move that increases respect. Another shift is non-reactivity under pressure. In every group, someone tests boundaries, prods for a flinch, or escalates tone to gain advantage. Most people react. They defend themselves, speed up, and try to win the moment. They lose more than they gain because their physiology betrays them. Cortisol spikes, voice pitch rises, blink rate increases. The brain of the observer reads those signals as a drop in rank. You can retrain this response. Lengthen the pause between stimulus and response. Keep your voice slow when others accelerate. Maintain stillness when others fidget. The content matters, but your nervous system sets the frame. Viktor Frankl wrote about space between stimulus and response. In that space is power. Apply that space to social tension. The contrast is again simple. The reactive person becomes predictable and easy to move. The non-reactive person becomes the center of gravity. People start to orient around them because humans use others for co-regulation. The calm person reduces noise in the group. Reducing noise is valuable. Value earns status. This is not about stoic posturing. It is about training your autonomic nervous system. Slow breathing lowers arousal. Grounded posture reduces leakage. Sparse words reduce opportunities for escalation. You do not punish. You do not appease. You contain. Containment raises rank because it allows others to function. There is a hidden advantage here. When you do not react, you watch. You begin to see the patterns that govern the room. Who depends on who? Who follows whose eyes? Who is loud without influence, and who is quiet with it? Social hierarchies are not decided by volume. They are decided by perceived necessity. If your presence increases group performance, you become necessary. Calm precision under stress signals necessity in every field that matters. A final shift is asymmetric alliance. Most people chase visible approval from the center of attention. They waste energy competing for a spotlight that attracts more competition. Power consolidates on the edges through selective ties that change incentives without public noise. History is full of this. The Medici did not advertise every favor. They built networks where loyalty produced compounding returns. In modern terms, you identify the few operators whose endorsement changes outcomes. You become useful to them in ways that are costly to fake and easy to verify. Reputation becomes a form of capital that appreciates because it cannot be manufactured quickly. Social proof is real, but it is not democratic. 10 shallow votes do not equal 1 deep endorsement from someone whose judgment people trust. You do not need everyone. You need the right few. This runs against what you are taught. You are told to network widely and be seen by all. That advice creates breadth with no leverage. Depth produces leverage because deep ties shift decisions. Game theory calls it coalition formation. Coalitions do not announce themselves. They alter the payoff matrix quietly. This is where you accept a trade that most people refuse. You become willing to be disliked by the many in order to be indispensable to the few. That does not mean hostility. It means indifference to gossip and noise. Humans are wired to avoid social pain. The anterior cingulate cortex lights up when we feel exclusion. If you cannot tolerate that sensation, you will sell your position for belonging. If you can sit with it, you will buy long-term autonomy at the cost of short-term comfort. The market always charges a price. Pay the price that compounds. Tie these shifts together, and the pattern is clear. Hierarchies move for those who control thresholds, speak in clean claims, set agendas, stay calm under pressure, and align with a few critical allies. None of this requires deception. It requires discipline. Deception is a tax that destroys your reputation when it is uncovered. Discipline is an asset that keeps growing. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must learn how not to be good when goodness fails. That line is often misused. The core is this: virtue without strength is theater. Strength without virtue is brittle. The combination creates durability. There will be resistance. The culture sells a story that status is either earned by talent alone or given by fairness. Neither is true. Status follows perceived necessity within the current rules. If the rules are irrational, status still obeys them. You do not need to like this to use it. You do not need to announce that you are using it. You operate and outcomes change. People will tell you that this is cold. It is. Cold works when everyone else is overheated. Understand this clearly. The person who can sit with the discomfort most people flee from will inherit the responsibility most people claim to want. Responsibility attracts resources. Resources attract dependency. Dependency creates status. This is not mystical. It is mechanical. Your task is not to impress the room. Your task is to remove confusion in yourself, and then remove confusion in others. The person who reduces confusion gains trust. Trust is a force multiplier. You do not ask for it. You demonstrate behavior that earns it. Do not overcomplicate execution. A threshold is a standard you will not violate. A claim is a statement you will defend with evidence. An agenda is a sequence you intend to follow. Non-reactivity is a trained pause you can rely on. An alliance is a tie where value flows in both directions and grows with time. These are simple components. Their power comes from consistency. Your brain and the brains around you update based on repeated signals. You become the kind of person people adjust to, not the kind of person who adjusts to everything. There is a broader ethical question under all of this. Are you willing to accept that moral intent does not protect you from strategic failure? Many people hide from strategy by claiming purity. Then they wonder why their outcomes are controlled by those who do not. The Stoics did not pretend the world is fair. They chose to act with virtue inside an unfair world while staying effective. That path remains open. You can be principled without being predictable. You can be kind without being compliant. You can be courteous without being available on demand. You were taught that social skill is charisma. The truth is less glamorous. Social skill is repeatable behavior that shapes expectations and reduces volatility. Charisma rises and falls with mood. Standards endure. If you base your influence on how you feel, you will be volatile. If you base it on constraints and commitments, you will be stable. Groups invest authority in stable people because stability reduces risk. Reduce risk for others, and they will raise you because it serves them to do so. The cost is that you will be misread by people who only understand warmth in a language of constant availability. They will project stories. They will call your control arrogance. Let them. Evolution did not select for accuracy in social judgment. It selected for speed. People draw fast conclusions that benefit them. Do not try to correct everyone. Correct the ones that interfere with your commitments. Leave the rest. Attention spent on correction is attention stolen from creation. Most of what passes for power is noise. Real power is the ability to keep your course when others try to throw you off, and the ability to shift the course of a group without raising your voice. That requires internal silence and external clarity. It does not require performance. It requires that you stop asking for permission to treat your time and mind as scarce resources. Nobody will do that for you. In fact, most systems are built to harvest your time and sell it back to you in the form of validation. If you move this way, you will notice something. People who once ignored you will start to reframe you to themselves. They will tell new stories that explain your position as if it was always obvious. That is how the brain protects its self-image. Do not chase credit. Let the update happen. The update is the point. Respect precedes credit. Credit follows when it is useful. You are not building a fan club. You are building a record. If you are still listening, you are already different from most. You are willing to think in terms of constraints and costs, not just hopes. That puts you in a small group. Small groups move the world because they are not paralyzed by the need to be seen as good by everyone. They act, and they accept the consequence of acting. If that is you, then treat what you heard as a private standard. Do not posture with it. Do not announce it. Build it into how you operate until people feel it before they can name it. This is not for everyone. Most will reject it because it threatens their habits. They will say this is too cold or too calculating. That is fine. They can keep what those habits produce. If you want something different, take responsibility for the signals you send and the terms you accept. Keep thresholds. Speak in claims. Set agendas. Stay non-reactive. Build asymmetric alliances. Do it longer than it feels comfortable. Do it when nobody is watching. The room will move, not all at once. Then suddenly, in the way that systems change when pressure has been quiet for a long time. Choose to join the minority that treats power as a discipline. If you commit, you will see how few people are actually in the arena. That is the point. The door is not locked. It is simply invisible to those who refuse to look at reality directly. Step through and act like you intended to be here.